powerful testimonies that will help you to overcome lust, porn, and masturbation. You see, on this page, for years, we've been helping men overcome lust, but I wanted to go deeper into encouraging you to make this a reality within your life, because chances are, if you're on this page, chances are, if you're watching this video, you're struggling with lust right now. You're struggling with sex outside of marriage, porn, masturbation, or just anything sexual within your life that you have not overcame within your life right now. And this is why you're watching these videos, to motivate you, to edify you. And I pray that's exactly what this video does within your life right now. A lot of people, they look at my life and my testimony, or maybe some of the testimonies from other guys that we share within this page, where maybe like David, who is a part of our program, and we run a program where we've helped hundreds of men to overcome porn and masturbation, right? Maybe you've seen other videos of other testimonies that we have on our page of how celebrities even overcame porn and masturbation, but still within the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, is this possible for me? Maybe you have doubt within your mind. Maybe something inside of you is second guessing, and you're not really sure if this is possible within your life, because you've been saying, well, I've been addicted for this amount of time, or I masturbate and watch porn and I go into these perverted things X amount of times in a day, or X amount of times within a week. I don't know if it's possible for me. I've been trying to overcome it for so long and still haven't been able to do it. That's exactly why I wanted to make this video, to encourage you. And I pray that does that. I pray that this also motivates you and just allows you to know that this is possible for you. If God can do it for me, Jesus can also do it for you as well. So as we get into these testimonies, as we get into these stories, I pray that this just helps you on this journey. This is why we make videos, to help you. So without further ado, let's get into the testimonies.
There's an additional issue with pornography, which is not often discussed, which is that, remember, guys in particular, the brain is a learning prediction machine. If your brain learns to be aroused by watching other people have sex, it is not necessarily going to carry over to the ability to get aroused when you're one-on-one with somebody else. In its availability and its extreme forms, it's a very potent stimulus, and very potent stimuli of any kind, extremely palatable food, extreme pornography, extreme experiences like bungee cord jumping, those set a threshold for dopamine release. And Anna will tell you that, and I'm sure she did, that the higher the dopamine peak, the bigger the drop afterwards. And it's not that you drop to baseline, you drop below baseline.
During my short stint in porn, the really extreme acts were what was popular, and that's why, being the #1 performer in the industry at the time, everyone wanted to make money off me, so they pushed me to do these things. And it just gets really extreme, like you were saying, abusive. I don't want to go into too much detail. Like, honestly, some of my experiences are really humiliating for me, and I wish that they never happened. There's stuff going on, like people getting pissed on. Men are pissing inside of women's vaginas, assholes, down their throats. Sorry.
Oh, don't cry.
I wrote an entire book back in 2005 that went largely ignored, called Porn Generation, about the impact that pornography was having on young men, in particularly the desensitization of men to how women ought to be treated, turning them into basically a series of body parts as opposed to treating them as holistic human beings, how this was part of the generalized sexual revolution. So there are all sorts of studies that demonstrate that this leads to relationship and sexual insufficiency later, and it ain't good. The way that it has integrated into so many really young people's lives, I'm talking like young teens, it ain't good. What percentage of American males do you think are addicted to porn at this point?
It's a giant percentage.
It's got to be 50%.
So I was going to the airport and I brought my Bible and I'm reading it on the airplane. And I'm reading Revelation chapter 2, verse 20 through 23. And it says, I have this thing against you. You tolerate that woman named Jezebel. She leads my people into sexual immorality. I've given her time to repent. And if she doesn't repent, I'll cast her and her children into a sickbed, and all who commit immorality with her into a sickbed. And I started crying. And I said, God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that this is what I've been doing. I've been not only harming myself, but others and your heart. And I repented, and I felt God say, this isn't the life that I have for you. The life that I have for you will overflow with so much love, peace, and joy. And if you would quit the porn industry today, I would bless your life like no man ever could. It was a step of faith. I did the scene that day, collected my last paycheck, and I told everybody on set, you guys will never see me again. I'm quitting the porn industry today.
That look, any form of perversion is bad.
in God's eyes. Any form of pornography, like, it tears apart families. It's used to tear families apart. You know, if it's a dad looking at Pornhub, he's still looking at somebody's daughter. And a lot of the women that end up in pornography are actually products of molestation, and they're reliving that trauma every time they get on camera. So in Hollywood, people say, okay, this is right, but this is wrong. It's all wrong in God's eyes.
Different layers to trafficking. Like for me, Playboy was my gateway into full-on pornography addiction. My dad had a Playboy left out at age 5, and it's affected almost every choice I made for the rest of my life from age 5 to now having to kick the habit. And it just presents itself in the open, like it's okay. And I stand up and say, you know, it's not okay.
Started off just topless. It was just really strange, really strange. Eventually, after being in the business, I got used to it. They would want me to say things that I don't say and do things that I don't do. I felt financially trapped in the business. And then also there was, when people want you and your name is getting bigger, and I don't know, there was just it's a whole other person that I was, where that kind of filled the emptiness that I felt. And at the time I met this guy named Chris, and then he was like, well, let me ask you something. He's like, do you believe in God? And that moment, I just got chills all over. I hadn't heard anything about God in so long. He just started witnessing to me, well, he loves you, and you could, he wants you to let him into your heart. He just started witnessing to me and telling me about what he did for me, dying on the cross to forgive me of all of my sins and how I can start over. I just made the choice right then to quit.
The less porn, the better. That's my advice. But let's make that more specific. To the degree that use of porn and masturbation is undermining your sense of yourself and providing you with a dearth of motivational reasons to get out there and engage with a real partner, then it's definitely not in your best interest. And that's what your conscience is telling you. And it's the expedient at the expense of the meaningful. Obviously, right? Obviously, there isn't any more obvious manifestation of the expedient at the expense of the meaningful than pornography and masturbation. And that's hardly a heroic path. So maybe the less of it, the better.
I don't look at it one day at a time because I don't think it's good. I think it... when you play a computer game for much too long, don't know what that was, so I'm with typing, football management probably, then when you come out, don't you think I should be able to get into cars and go, if you watch too much porn, I think it tunes you too much into people's capacity as a sexual sort of lump, and I don't think that's good for me at any rate, and I don't think porn's good in general. I was reading something yesterday in The Guardian. It said men looking at porn in public, that it's become so normal just to look at porn. I find it too much, it's too disturbing and unsettling and fascinating and exciting for me to look at, and it biases my opinion on what human beings are and how we should treat each other. So I'm not a person who's puritanical and doesn't fit and thinks that people should be able to do what they want. But do what you want. I don't care as long as you're not hurting anyone. But I think porn hurts everyone involved. The people that are doing it, the people that are watching it.
So the scene starts, and right away it's just push, push, slap, slap, split, spit, slut, whore. It was just this bomb of just physical abuse, and I knew that. Going into that, it was going to be like that, but it was just sort of, whoa, it really took me off guard.
It became both monotonous and darker at the same time, where it was what I did for work. It was what I did 25 to 30 times a month. So it just became so arbitrary to me that it didn't, like, I didn't really think about what I was doing. And me as a person, I really stopped existing. I started isolating myself very quickly from my friends and family because of shame and guilt. You know, very like Genesis 2 to Genesis 3. It's like Adam and Eve were walking, they were naked, there was no shame. All of a sudden there was sin, they were hiding from God. Right. And then for me, it's like me hiding from the people that really knew me. Because if you really knew me, I was accountable to you. Mm-hmm. So the people that really had value in my life, I felt ashamed and I felt guilty. So I stopped answering my mom's phone calls, her texts.
I've lost my whole family and it sucks. So a lot of times when people ask me if they should do porn, I tell them no. I tell them that it makes life really hard. It makes dating really hard. It makes your family life really hard. It makes intimacy hard. You're putting yourself out there and the world is now judging you. You have to be okay with being shamed every day of your life. I don't even want to have children because I do porn, because I'm worried of the way that people will treat my child. With me personally, my mom was supportive in the beginning. She kind of just let me do whatever, that I think it was a good thing. I had a lot of freedom. As time progressed and I became successful, I started to feel like my mom was using me so that she could live a more luxurious lifestyle. When I started to set like these boundaries, not giving her money or things like that, it made our relationship a bit more difficult and almost toxic. And so it sucks. I don't have a mom anymore. I don't talk to her. I miss having a mom. I feel like you can't rewind and you can't go back. I don't have that relationship with her anymore. I don't ever think I will. And that bums me out. Bums me out a lot. I talked to my dad and he struggles with my job being in the industry. He's also religious. Recently I wanted to go visit him and he said that I can't go visit because his wife, my stepmom, doesn't want me there. I'm not allowed to go visit my dad anymore because my stepmom doesn't like that I do porn. But then he told me that when I was like, can we like go get coffee and like we could go like get breakfast? And he's like, I don't want to be seen in public with you. And that just hurt so bad. And it sucks. I lost my family. I don't talk to like my brothers or sisters. I think that they all kind of like try to take advantage of me and stuff, or they're just like, my dad don't want to be around me.
That's not how it was. It wasn't just, hey, do you want to come do porn? It was more so, oh, you're beautiful. Like, would you like to do some modeling? Oh, you know, you have a great body. Like, I think you'd be great in nude modeling, things like that. And after I came and toured the studio, you know, it was very respectable. It was a gorgeous location. It was in Miami, in Doral, Florida. It was clean. Everyone who worked there was nice. All of their cubicles were decorated with family photos. Like, it was nothing dodgy or that made me uncomfortable. And after the first time I went in wasn't the first time I filmed a porn movie. It was the second time. The first time was more so, do you want to do this? Like, sign the paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. So
these guys, they just saw you, frankly, as a money machine.
Absolutely.
But you still had no advisors, you had no lawyer, you had no nothing. So
I was what 21-year-old has a lawyer on retainer?
I'm just trying to get my head around how stressful this must have been, and whether even now, because you sit here so poised and obviously a lot of time has passed and you've moved on, but do you think there is some sort of post-traumatic stress that is in you from this experience?
Yes, and I think it kicks in mostly when I go out in public, because the stares I get, I feel like people can see through my clothes, and it brings me deep shame. It makes me feel like I lost all right to my privacy, which I did, because I'm one Google search away.
Yeah.
This thing is a major, major problem. I literally had to go to rehab for it. And the thing what I found is that by not telling people, it becomes more powerful. But when you tell, and when you put it out there in the open, just like I'm doing right now, to the whole world, it loses its power. And everybody wants you to keep this little secret. Don't tell anybody. Don't whisper in this and this. I'm telling. And I'm putting it out there. Let me tell you something. You know, I've been free of this thing probably going on 6-7 years now, thank goodness. But now it's become my battle to help other people who are going through the same thing. Now I know, again, you're on the internet. If you don't have this problem, it's okay. A lot of people don't. But there are a lot of people who can't stop. And I'm here to help you. You can talk to me. Now, some of you may not agree. Please tell me what you think. But my issue was, and is with pornography, is that it changes the way you think about people. People become objects. People become, body parts. They become things to be used rather than people to be loved. And it really, you start to change the way you see people, and you start to use people. You start to feel like, you're the man and they're just, whatever.
When I was a kid, you passed around a porn mat. You know what I mean? That's what you did. Now you have a computer, and the stuff that you have access to, man, it's like, man, it's not you are seeing the most violent, most degrading, most heinous crimes against women. You know what I mean? And some people, they call them nuisance crimes, or you know what they call it? Victimless crime. But I've never seen a crime that was victimless. Think about it. The term itself doesn't work. Listen, it's not easy at first because you just go, what else am I gonna do? But I had to literally write down things that I was going to do instead of watch pornography. It was that simple. It was like, okay, I am going to read a book right now. And I'll be on the first paragraph like,
But it takes, one thing that I've found, Terry, and give me your opinion, is once you say no one time, it's powerful, right? Yeah. It allows you realize you can say no, right? Because for so long you're just, I can't say no. And then once you say no, it's empowering.
But see, like I said, but remember what I just said? I said, I'm reading that first paragraph. Second paragraph is interesting.
There we go.
Third one, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
By the 10th page, I forgot all about what I would normally do.
What pornography did to me was it changed how I thought and felt about women. I began to look at them even more so as a sexual object. I lost the ability to have a loving and caring relationship. One day, I left the set. I was done for the day, got in my car, started it up, drove 2 blocks, pulled over and turned it off. And I started to cry. I wanted out so bad. I wanted to get off that merry-go-round. It's the last movie I ever made, and I never went back, and it changed my life.
I didn't ever think that, watching porn and, doing drugs was gonna have me one day talking to you, but I'm here now. And I think that's what drugs and porn did that to me. It took me away from being present. You always want to be present in your loved one's life. Me and my girlfriend only been together for a couple of months, and it almost killed our love.
I was 24 years old when I entered porn. I was a burned out prostitute and stripper. I was a single mom, addicted to drugs and alcohol. I was the kind of person that the porn industry preys upon. The porn industry preys upon people who are already damaged, so they can damage them more. And I was that girl. They promised me fame, fortune, attention. They promised me I would be the next biggest, hottest porn star. And they promised me that I would be kept safe. That porn people are the cleanest people in the world. And that if we get our tests every 30 days for HIV, then I'll be kept safe. Are you sure? Of course, baby, of course we're sure. You'll be safe. Well, after about 30 movies, I got burned. And I caught 2 sexually transmitted diseases. One of those diseases was HPV, human papillomavirus, which I had never heard of. And another was a non-curable disease, herpes. Catching herpes back in the 90s was like catching HIV. I mean, your life was over. You were gonna be forever stuck with this disease. And it devastated me. And I tried to kill myself with prescription pills. I didn't care anymore. I had herpes on my mouth, my lips, my throat, my vagina, my anus, everywhere. I was a monster. How far I had come. I joined the porn industry and I was promised glamour and fame and fortune. And here I'm standing in the worst human ugliness you could possibly see in the mirror. And I was devastated. And I thought my life was over. like many of the porn stars who catch non-curable diseases. STDs are rampant in the porn industry. And what's horrible is these people don't understand that even repeat infections are breaking down their immune system. After they have so many STDs, sooner or later they're going to live with the long-term health effects like I am. I'm 43 years old now, and I still have problems with my period, with my cervix. I had to have half of my cervix removed because of all of the herpes lesions, and I couldn't have babies after that. Praise God, by the grace of God, that I have children. I'm blessed. But I did lose 4 children because of the damage to my sexual organs. The porn industry does nothing more than damage lives. It damages the lives of the workers. It damages the lives of the general public. It damages the lives of the men who are viewing pornography, who are addicted to porn.
I try to stay off of pornography, man. That's one of my biggest arch nemesis is pornography.
Why?
Because it just weakens me. Yeah.
How so?
I put all my sexual, my fantasies and stuff, they're not mine anymore. They live, somebody created them better than my imagination can. And so they live in these, on the internet in these boxes. And it's like, and if it's not mine, I think, then I don't value it as much or something. And so I think it like weakens my ability to like be able to have sex and like be comfortable in that sort of world. And
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Weakens your ability to be comfortable. Like, how so?
Well, because I get used to watching the sex and seeing it and not having to like be engaged with my actual feelings or anything.
As a woman, I think porn is a disgrace, and I used to watch a lot of porn, to be honest. I started watching porn when I was like 11. I thought that's how you learned how to have sex. I was watching abusive porn, to be honest, when I was like 14. And I, thought I was one of the guys and would talk about it and think it was really cool for not having a problem with it and not seeing why it was bad. And I think it really destroyed my brain. And I feel incredibly devastated that I was exposed to so much porn. I think that I had like sleep paralysis and these like almost like night terror / just nightmares because of it. I think that's how they started, because I would just watch abusive BDSM. I couldn't watch anything else, like unless it was violent. I like didn't think it was attractive, and I was a virgin. I had never done anything.
I was constantly going to urgent care. I had to be taken to urgent care, I think more than 10 times. And then the actual emergency room, I had to go there twice. I was constantly getting sick with strep throat, mono, getting the flu. Like, I was constantly getting sick, and also, with infections down there, like bacterial vaginosis, urinary tract infections, yeast infections, and then eventually, towards the end of my career, I caught herpes. But yeah, I was constantly getting sick, and not just that, because of the types of scenes that I was doing, I couldn't eat. I was not allowed to eat. And so I would go days without eating and just really munch on gummy bears and energy drinks just so I could get through my scenes. I wasn't healthy at all.
So for about the last 3 years, I have been battling an addiction that has been compromising my future and my relationships. So every single month, I have been spending any and every last bit of extra money that I have come in monthly on campsites, on online paid porn, on models, and it has not only compromised my relationship, but my future. I had no savings, I had nothing for my future, nothing, and even at one point I was getting into a negative balance, and I had to make excuses as to why I couldn't afford to go out to this nice dinner, or why we couldn't take this trip here, or why I couldn't do this or that. I had to make excuses because I wasn't ready to admit the truth. The truth is that I had been wasting all of my money on this campsite addiction. Now, I came up with a system with Nicole after I opened up with her, where every single morning she goes through all of my bank accounts. She knows where all my money comes in and where all of my money goes. Now, we built up that trust, and it has been working. So for the last I want to say 2 months we had the system in place, I haven't spent any money relating to anything that I was wasting all my money on. I'm so grateful to have such an understanding and loving partner to help me work through this addiction, because I wouldn't have been able to progress from how I can see it without her. We actually had worked out a really great system. It's still working right now. Haven't spent any money on anything related to that, and I'm proud of myself, and it saved the relationship, because had I kept doing it, of course, there would be no more relationship. It was the best decision I have made, because as I said, it has saved our relationship, it has saved my future, I now have a savings, and it had prevented me from having much worse lockdown, much worse experience through this pandemic had I not overcome this addiction.
I was a pastor's kid. It started slow. I started OnlyFans. I made like $85,000 the first month. My biggest thing that I sold was that I'm multiple girls. My parents kind of disowned me. I was sobbing. I was looking at my fireplace. I grabbed the Bible. I was like, God, I need an answer now. I truly need an answer now. And he gave me an answer. Like, it was crazy because no one could have ever given me these answers except for Christ. You know, of course I could have done it on my own will. I feel like it would have been more harmful.
What's the rate?
You know, the biggest thing is that I'm just trusting in God and his will for my life, and not jumping ahead of the gun, that logic that I'm talking about, like not working in my own strength, but working with God's strength. I will continue to get closer to God. I'm still like a baby Christian, but I'm ready for some meat now. Like, you know, I know what God can do. I've seen it. Like, let's keep moving forward in this relationship.